Let's talk the club. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk the club. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you've had a great weekend and you're having a great week so far. I know it's only Tuesday, but I still hope that you're having a great week. Hey, listen, it is Tuesday. It is December the 16th, 2025. The year is moving right along, and I hope that you're doing okay. Are you all ready for Christmas? Have you done your shopping? Do you have your decorations up? What's going on? Do you have your menus planned for the big holiday? What's going on? What's the status with everybody? I'm just curious. I want to know those things because uh, they are all consuming, right? It's just that time of the year, and things are a bit consuming. Sometimes they can be a bit overwhelming, but it is my hope that no one becomes overwhelmed because I want y'all to take a breath and breathe deeply, enjoy the season, know who you are, know whose you are. Remember to keep your integrity intact, your character intact, and all that kind of stuff. Hey, listen, I have an interesting broadcast this evening. I was on another platform shortly before this one, and I think I'm going to share some of the same information. By the way, if you haven't done so, please do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe to this platform. I'm always interested in having more friends and family members join this. And by family members, I'm not necessarily talking to people who are related to me by blood, but people who are in the trend of thought of believing that better is always possible. Better is always possible, and that better does not have to happen 5 years from now. It can happen 5 minutes from now, as long as I believe that there's a space and the place that's called better, and we are virtually and proverbially linked up together, and we're going to this space and this place that's called better. Then we are all family. We're of the same mindset. All right. So if you haven't done so, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. After you subscribe, take it one step further if you don't mind. Go ahead and click on the notification bell to let you know whenever I have gone live. I don't know where the notification bell is on your particular device. It may be down there, up there, over there, right? So just go ahead and subscribe and choose that notification bell. In a moment, I'll shout out the LTTC VIPs. Those are the people that I tend to see who hop on, and they're the first three over here. But I want to have a conversation, you all, because I have spent the last 24 to 36 hours searching for unclaimed property. Searching for unclaimed property. I need to put up a big Christmas tree behind me because this, if I've never offered a Christmas gift, this may be the Christmas gift of Christmas gifts. It's just simply advice, information, knowledge that I can share with you all. I want to put up this Christmas gift or Christmas tree so I can tell you all that this broadcast is about how to get your money. Did I say I spent the last 24 to 36 hours looking for and finding unclaimed property? I don't know if you all know this or not, but states have a treasury. This doesn't sound inspirational, motivational, challenging, but I promise you, this is informational. So you don't want to go anywhere. And as a matter of fact, if you've never shared a broadcast, this is the one that you want to share. You want to send this to people because this is about how to get money, how to get your money. Let me just step back and give a lesson, and I will share. I'll say hello to the LTTC VIPs, and they are Annie, Cutler, Paula D, and Marissa. It's so good to see all of you all. But I want to talk about how to get your money. Cutler, what do you mean? Every state, hear me clearly, you all, and I do need you all to share this. Every state has a treasury. And that treasury contains unclaimed money or unclaimed property. It doesn't matter what state you live, where you reside, where you are. Every state has an unclaimed property treasury. Cutler, what does an unclaimed property treasury look like? I mean, what do you mean? I'll tell you what goes into it, but let me tell you what that treasury is and what it's done with it. This is one way states make money. When companies owe individuals who live in a particular state, when companies owe individuals or corporations owe individuals who live in a certain state, and if they cannot find or locate that individual, what do? They give the money to the state. And they say to the state, I can't find the individual. You find I can't find them. So they will give that money to the state. And I'll tell you what kind of money in just a moment. Hang in there. And so they give that money to the state. That money, the state holds that money in its treasury. The state cannot spend that money because it is not the state's money. But of course, what is the state going to do? The state places that money in an interest-bearing account. Can you imagine drawing interest off a bank account that's worth $1.4 billion? In certain states, that's how much the unclaimed property treasury is worth. $1.4 billion. I've lived in North Carolina. I've lived in DC. I've lived in Maryland. I've lived in Georgia. And I'm telling you, these states have huge, DC is probably the smallest, but these states have huge unclaimed property treasuries. Well, how does the money get there, Cutler? I'm glad you asked. Let me explain. I'll give some examples, and maybe this will resonate with you, but I want to be clear, you all hear me clearly. I am not talking about money that's just owed to your grandparents who passed or to a great grandparent who passed. I'm talking about money that's owed to people who, like you and me, you and I, who are living, breathing, walking, and talking, and the state still owe us money. How could they owe me money and I don't know about it, Cutler? For example, let me give you an example. I'm glad you asked. And if you have questions, please feel free to drop questions over here in the chat while I'm talking about this unclaimed money. For example, you may have had a car insurance policy. And while you had that car insurance policy, you may have paid your premiums all the way through the end of the year. But maybe you decided to sell your car back in June. And while you paid your policy through December, you sell your car in June. And if you don't necessarily buy another one, you buy another one later on, that's a refund that's due to you from that insurance company. And maybe they can't find you. Maybe they don't find you, or maybe you change your address, or maybe something, maybe anything. But they owe you money. And if they can't locate you, then they're going to give that money to the state treasurer, to the state treasury, right? And imagine that's just your scenario. And if that happens to hundreds and thousands of people, then hundreds of thousands of people, their money is in this unclaimed property pool. So what do these states do? They have a website where people can go and say, oh, I have unclaimed property. Oh, there it is. Okay, let me just go online and claim it. I'll tell you right now, look at your respective state. Google unclaimed property and then your state, and it will tell you how to look for money in the state where you lived or where you now live or lived. So if you're living in one state, but you have lived in another state, you may want to check unclaimed property in every state where you have lived. Google unclaimed property, Georgia, in unclaimed property, New York. Google unclaimed property so that you can find the government link for unclaimed property in every state where you have lived. Take your time, do it one at a time. Just one at a time, and go through and claim your money. So that's one way that unclaimed property ends up in the state's treasury. Another way it can end up in the state's treasury, let's say you've overpaid a utility bill. Remember back in the day, AT&T? AT&T used to have like a membership corporation. And so people who had accounts through AT&T, when those accounts ended, a lot of our parents and grandparents If you check unclaimed property, you may find your parents' names, and money is due them based on shares that they may have had in the utility company. It's there, you all. It is there, and I don't want us to lose that money to the states, and it stays there forever. Because what the states would do is they'll just keep building up interest based on the money that you don't claim. So that's one way. One, auto insurance, you've paid the premiums, and then a refund is due to you, and you don't get it, so they give the money over to the state. Another way is if you've paid a utility bill and you've paid an overage, and now a refund is due to you, but they can't find you or don't find you or whatever the case may be. You are not contacted. That money is given to the state. Let me tell you another way. Another way in which money goes into these various states treasuries is by you know how people don't like to talk about death. Oh, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it. There's a certain mindset where people have been named as beneficiaries, but because folk don't like to talk about death and dying, you may have been named as a beneficiary and nobody ever told you. So that individual dies. And when that individual dies, you never knew that you were a beneficiary. So guess what? You didn't know to go after the money. You didn't know to look for it. You didn't even know that the policy existed. So guess what has happened? That insurance policy now needs to pay the beneficiary and cannot find the beneficiary. And so it gives the insurance company gives that money to the state. I saw so much of that over the past 24 hours. And again, Color, why do you do this? I do this every 3 or so months. Maybe, 3 to 6 months. I do it every 3 to 6 months. I look at the unclaimed property in the states where I have lived, because I have claimed unclaimed property in all of the states where I have lived. And I claimed unclaimed property in one state just 2 weeks ago. So this is real. I promise you all, this is not a scam. This is not spam. It's none of that. This is just me giving you all this information. This is what happens. And imagine again, a loved one dies, never having talked about death. They want to talk about where they were buried. They want to talk about life insurance policy, but they named a beneficiary. So when they died, people were left not even knowing that a policy existed and not even knowing that they themselves were beneficiaries. So again, the money went over to the state. I saw a lot of that. So what happens on a lot of these sites, what happens on a lot of these unclaimed property sites in these respective states, they will say, well, so-and-so is owed a certain amount of money, and maybe anywhere from $0 to $100. And sometimes they will say either $0 to $100, or they will specify the amount. Then they may say from $100 to $200. And some states will just say, we are not going to disclose how much it is. The most we'll show is either 100 or 200 or 250. Maybe that's just the most we'll show, depending upon your state. And if it's over that amount, we'll just say over 200, over 250, or over 100. I looked at several states over the past 24 hours, and there were several individuals that I know who are still living, not their deceased loved ones, but they themselves are still living, and they have reached the threshold maximum amount that the website will show. So if it says over $250, it could be up to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. We're talking about life insurance policies. You just never know. So my goal this evening is to encourage you all to do a little searching yourself. Please share this broadcast with people, because I'm so convicted about making sure that people go and find the money that's due them. I was talking to one couple earlier today, and as I was talking to the wife, and the wife shared with me some names. So I said, let me just do a search. Let me just do a search for you all. I did a search, and I found the wife's grandmother, the wife's grandfather, the wife's great grandfather, all died with money due to them. A sibling, a first cousin, money is due to them. And then while I was talking with the wife, the husband was doing a search because the husband heard me saying how the search can be done. And the husband said, "Well, I cannot believe this." And I kept hearing these expletives or this declarations coming from the husband, like, "Oh my God, I cannot!" Exclamations coming from the husband, "I can't believe this." And I said, "What? This is me right here. I used to live here, so I just Googled money, you all." I want to make sure, honestly, and you see, I'm not trying to get in anybody's business. I'm telling you all that there is money out there. There's money out there. And I Googled, I did a search for many of my relatives, many of my friends, people, many of my colleagues and classmates and what have you, based on where they live now and where some of them have lived and where I live now and where I have lived. I'm telling you all, there's money out there. I was flabbergasted when I found I called my mother and I said, "Mom, are you still in touch with so and so and so and so?" She said, "Yeah, why?" And I said, because I'm seeing that that person is listed as a beneficiary but has not claimed the money." You all, I'm telling you, you need to do this because it really is real. It is real. I've done it. I do it every 3 years, like I say, every 3 months, like I say, and do I do it every 3 months? No. I don't do this every 3 months. It's probably like every 3 years that I would do this. But I'm telling you, I just recently did it and money's coming my way. Linda, it's funny you mentioned this. My husband just claimed a nice sum of money, but we found out through a law firm that wanted to charge us a tree. We went to the unclaimed site ourselves and filed. Thank you. I love when people clarify or confirm what I'm saying. I love it when they confirm or clarify what I'm saying. I have a friend who is an unclaimed property finder. So she gets paid for it. I'm not trying to get paid. I'm trying to get you paid. I'm trying to tell you all about this. Go to the unclaimed property site for your respective state and the state where you have lived. Check out your family last name, and you can narrow the search down to the town where you live. I did a search. I did a search on the hometown where I grew up. I put in family, the last names of family, a whole family's last name. My mind was blown when I saw people's names pop up that I know, that I went to school with, their parents, people who are still living now. Again, I'm not saying these are not people who have died, you all. Some of these are people who are still living and breathing. Money is owed to them. There are some people who have died. And back in the day when people used to buy these various insurance policies and then they had a cash insurance policies with cash values, and then they decided they did not want or could not keep up the premiums or just didn't want to continue those policies. Those policies with cash values, the companies say that, we need to get the cash over or the money over to these individuals, and they didn't for whatever reason, whether they couldn't or didn't, but they had to turn that money over to the state. And when they turned that money over to the state, it just sits there and the state draws interest on the money. I will tell you all this because I was born and raised in North Carolina. I was looking in North Carolina for the past 24, 36 hours, looking at the money that's available. North Carolina Treasury has $1.4 billion in an account of unclaimed property, $1.4 billion. Last year alone, they refunded over $100 million of unclaimed property. But they still have over 1.4 billion. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? That's a lot of money. And there are people who say, "Oh no, it couldn't be me." And probably you are the very person, you or somebody you know, or somebody who's in your family, this unclaimed money. My mind was blown. I looked at small towns where I knew whole families, and I just put in the family name. And when I tell you, names popped up that I knew. I put names in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Maryland, in Delaware, in New York, in Jersey, and they just kept popping up. So I said, let me just go to a small town so that way I can just really restrict it and see if I know these people. My mind was blown. My mind was blown. I need you all to share this broadcast if you've never shared any broadcast before and say, hey, Cutler may be onto something here. He may be onto something for you and your family and your loved ones. Go and Google, and you can go in the Google site and just put unclaimed property and your state. And when you go unclaimed property and your state, follow the link to the official government site for the Treasury. In Maryland, I know it's the Comptroller of the Treasury. In North Carolina, it is the Department of Revenue. In Virginia, it is in North Carolina, it's the state treasurer. In Georgia, it is the Department of Revenue. In Maryland, it is the Comptroller of the Treasury. But it will show you, it will tell you where the unclaimed property site is and how to claim your money. I'm telling you all, it is a matter of just going online, finding your name, finding the name of a loved one, and then the site will say, all right, if you want to claim this money, what is your role? Are you this individual? And if you're not that individual, you can choose I'm next of kin. Of course, they may ask you to verify this through various means, or you may say, I'm the executor of this estate, or I'm the administrator of this estate. And they may say, all right, we need you to prove to us that you are who you say you are. If it's you yourself and you say, no, I'm claiming this for myself, as I did a couple of weeks ago, all I had to do, I put in my social security number, and it's based on the amount of money is based on the company that provides the funds or people who owe you. So the verification process may be different depending on a couple of things, but they may send you an email and say, all right, give us an email address so we can tell you exactly what you need to do to follow up. So it is as simple as going online, one, having an email address, two, and then being able to send the verification that you are who you are and that you are entitled that money. It is that simple. I stayed on the phone with my mother for 2 hours last night, and I kept saying, oh my God, Mom, this is a state of emergency. And I kept clowning like one of my friends. I kept going, ladies and gentlemen, this is a state of emergency. The state is holding $1.4 billion that belong to its residents. And then I would go to another state. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a state of emergency. This state is holding $1.75 billion of money that belongs to its residents or people who once lived in its. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a state of emergency. I need you all to share this because my mind was blown. I know the thinking of some people who will say, oh, that's just $87. Just $87? That's just $32. Just $32? When it does not cost you anything to get that except for a few moments of your time? And you may be I'm telling you all, help me out here, because you may be the one who can search for other people in your family. In fact, look, McDonald said, I just went to Connecticut. I found money. Oh, I'm telling you all, this is true. This is true, you all. I do it. I've done it for myself. I've helped my siblings do it. I've told other people about it. It's real. This is probably the best. You're talking about Christmas shopping? Shop for money. How about that? Shop for money. Go to Google unclaimed property, the state where you have lived, and then and you may have lived, think about this now, you may have lived in another state, not just where you are now. And then don't just look for yourself. If you don't find yourself, think, did my parents, if your parents are no longer here, did my parents, or even if they are, did my parents once upon a time live in another state? All right. Am I the next of kin of somebody who lived in another state? Did my grandparents who are no longer here, did they live in another state? Should I search under my grandmother's maiden name to see if she was due something? And you start doing these searches, and you look and you search and you look you all don't let these states keep. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let these states keep your money and the money of your family members. I can tell you all this, and I hope this I hope this really is shared because I grew up in Eastern North Carolina, and if I remember correctly, the name of the electric company was Tideland Electric Membership Corporation, and I saw when I looked at several family members, their last name, it said shares or money due by Tideland Electric Membership Corporation. Some said money due by Atlantic Telegraph and Telephone Company Membership Corporation. Some of them said for people who started life insurance, different mutual insurance company benefit. I'm telling you all, the money is there. Money is there. Put in states where your parents have lived and look for unclaimed property. Where your parents have lived and look under your mother's maiden name. Honestly, I say it all the time. And I'm just trying to help save somebody's life and to save your assets. And there are people who I know, and I don't know if they watch this particular broadcast or watch me on another platform. That's why I went on both platforms this evening. But if people say, oh, no, that can't be me, and they just turn a deaf ear or blind eye and keep on going, I am probably talking to you. If you know me, if you're connected to me, if our paths have crossed, particularly in ministry, in church, in school, in by blood relationship or anything, or I'm telling you, you want to stop. Take a breather and look up unclaimed property. I was going to also talk about the difference between wills and trust, but I think I may do that another time and bring another one of my friends from law school, and we just have dual conversations and chit chat about that. But I want you all to understand, go on these websites, go on this website, search unclaimed money. You're like, Cutler, you're really loud about this. I'm passionate about this. I want people to find their money. No, McDonald says, do I need to pay you a finder fee? No, not at all. And that's funny you should say that, because some of these websites will say, are you paying someone to find this for you, or are you being paid to search this for people? I know professional unclaimed fund finders. I know people who do this professionally. I'm not one of these. I'm not one. But I want you all to look and diligently look. If you live in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, it's possible that you have relatives who have lived in either DC, Washington, DC, Virginia, or Maryland. So search the unclaimed property for all of those three. The same thing could be true with this tri-state area up in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. So think about it. If you've migrated down south from New York, and if you've migrated, you may think, okay, so let me see. On my migration, I lived in New York, now I'm in Georgia, but my family may be from the Carolinas or from Georgia somewhere. I want you to think about all of these things, where people are and where they have been, and search. A relative of mine who was in the military, and I said, check this state, because while you were in the military, weren't you making money of some sort? Weren't you doing X, Y, Z? Listen, and the money popped right up, and there it was. I don't want to kick a dead horse. I just want to make sure that we get it. Paula D says, I'm currently looking for myself and relatives. Marissa said, I just looked. So I want you all to take now until the next time we talk. And I'm just curious. So by the next time we talk, I'm going to ask you all, did you find anything? Were you surprised? Did you find something for yourself or other people? Because if you're like me, you're going to want to pick up the phone and say, hey, look, there is money that's owed to you. There's money. Your grandmother's name is here. I remember Miss So-and-so, she used to live on such and such street, and there's money right in here. There's money right in here. Some of you, as you're looking in current states, and I'm looking down while I'm saying this because you have to get it. Some of you are in states where you have migrated to, and siblings are in that state with you. And so while you're looking for yourself in that state, also look for your siblings in that state, as I have and found some of your siblings there. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to get your money. I want you to get your money. Yeah. I'm going to send a couple text messages after I get off this broadcast. I want you all to get your money. All right. Thank you all so much. I know this wasn't one of those inspirational, motivational, challenging kind of things, but this was informational. I need you all to get what's yours. A state treasury of $1.4 billion. What if you work in the state like DC, but did not live there? If you work in the state like DC, look at where you lived while you were working there. And typically, it's possible if it comes from an employer that the money went to the unclaimed property of where you lived, right? Of where you lived. All right. Linda Martin says, go get your coins. And that's what I want you all to do. Go get your coins and just broaden your search. And then sometimes you can narrow it down to a town. So if you put Jones and Jones, that's going to show a whole bunch. But then Jones in Albany, New York, a whole lot of Joneses. So you want to put Jones first, last name and first. First name tends to be optional, but you want to make sure to do that. I know in DC, the unclaimed property link in DC, it will not take your full first name. It will only take your initial. I'm telling you, I have done, sir. I've been doing this. I want y'all to get your money. Find your money. All right, you all. Hey, thank you. Please share this broadcast. And let's keep doing what we do, you all. Let's keep doing what we do. Let's keep building a community, maintaining connectivity, stay safe, stay sane. Go get your money. This is how to get your money. Go get your money. Andy Cole says, have a great night and weekend. Love you all. Keep searching. Keep searching. Thank you. I couldn't put it any better myself. Until the next time I see you, please. See you next week as I become that's right. As you become a millionaire, it really, because I'm going to ask. I want to know if you are fine. Just know that next week I'm going to ask how the searching went. All right. I don't want to know if you get particular money. I just want to know if this were a fruitful conversation for us to have had. All right. Listen. Know from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. See you till the next time. I'll see you the next time I see you. And until then, tell somebody else, certainly after a conversation like tonight, they need to come on. And let's talk to Cutler. Good night, everybody.